I got into songwriting by accident. You know, it sort of happened to me. But I feel like now I'm ready to take ownership of it, and it's not by accident anymore. You know, so it's like I can't hide behind that. Like I got to be all there. My mom put me in piano lessons when I was a kid, and I just hated it. And like it was funny because my whole family, I'd like blame them for going into the arts at all, because they like I wasn't really that interested. I guess I was like, you know, my grandmother was like, I want you to take dance classes, and I was like, no, I don't want to take dance classes. And my mom wanted to do piano, and I just liked to play like soccer and sports and stuff. And but I did get hooked into dance, so I think a lot of just like introduction to music started, like rhythm, and started with that. And I was always like singing in chorus.
How old were you when you took dance?
I started when I was 8, and I started to get serious about it at the beginning of high school, and I was dancing like 4 or 5 nights a week, doing pointe, ballet, tap, jazz, hip hop, everything. Nice. I got super into theater and acting, and then and that's what I went to school for. And then right when I got to school, I bought a guitar and I wrote my first song. I had just graduated from North Carolina School of the Arts for high school. So I did like a conservatory program for theater, and I was running the coffee house for their summer program, and so I was just like always into like making playlists and like, and it was cool because you're like, you know, leading these like, you know, teenagers who look up to you, and you're like, great, like I can give them some awesome music, And so I started this open mic at the coffee shop, and like I wanted to sing some things. I was writing like parody songs, but I couldn't really play an instrument, and so I decided when I got my paycheck from that summer, I would go and buy a guitar, and so I could at least, if I wanted to sing a cover song, I wouldn't have to count on somebody else.
Right, nice.
So I bought like this $100, you know, Takamine Jasmine guitar and a case, and then I took New York the next week. Yeah, I taught myself, and I learned like a few covers to start, finger picking stuff, but then once I wrote my first song, I didn't really, and since then haven't really learned many other people's songs. The guitar has always been like a vehicle for, you know, my writing. About a year ago, I started getting serious about guitar and taking lessons. I went to the Meisner studio at NYU for acting. The first year you play yourself. You just make up all these situations to put yourself in. And it's about like figuring out how you work and figuring out what makes you happy and what makes you depressed and da-da-da. You know, every emotion is in every person. And that's like what you're going to be called upon for a play. But what makes someone else like scream up and down or cry isn't going to be the same as what makes you cry.
Right.
So it's about, you know, seeing your body as an instrument and learning how to play it. And a lot of what Meisner is about, like being in the moment with somebody, and taking everything that they're saying to you personally, and reacting honestly to it, which is like, I don't know, sometimes it makes you realize like how little you do that in real life, or like how easy it is to just like go on autopilot and not really hear what somebody's saying. It's definitely music. I mean, once I started songwriting, I mean, that was just kind of it. I held on to acting for a little while, and I had to get to a really bad place where I was just like, I don't know why I'm doing this. I don't think I've ever liked acting. Like, I kidded myself for like 6 years. What am I doing? And it was really bad. I have to remember like what brought me to it. And at the time, I started acting because it was the hardest thing I'd ever done. Like school was always pretty easy, whatever. Like, but acting, it was like I had to be there fully.
Yeah.
Like, I couldn't.
Can't phone that in.
you can't phone it in, and you can't, like, and for me, it was just also about being healthy and, like, I don't know. I mean, everybody goes through their stuff. To be honest, like, that's why I started acting. And I don't want to, like, I think part of the problem with stuff like eating disorders, I don't want to glamorize that, because I think that, like, it's so common.
Right.
But I definitely went through that, and part of why I went off to this acting, like, thing for 6 weeks was so nobody would be on my case. I could just leave and, like, lose a lot of weight and stuff.
Right.
And then I got there, and it took everything. The program took everything out of me, and I didn't have a choice. Like, if I wanted to do well and do good work, I couldn't be about to faint.
Right.
You know, and I don't think I'd ever experienced anything like that before that, like, required me to be at my best, because I couldn't do it otherwise.
Right.
So I think I sort of clung to that because I needed it so much, and that's why I was acting for a long time.
When did you start, like, writing stuff down?
Anything? Oh God. I don't know, when I was really young, I guess. I haven't always kept a journal, but definitely the last 4 years, you know, I always have a moleskin with me and write, and I don't write, like, but they're not like journal entries, you know.
Okay.
I don't, like, write about my day,
Right.
and I don't, like, but I read a lot, so whenever there's a passage in a book or a line, I write it down. So I almost have, like, full plays in some of my notebooks, but I just, like, the act of, like, copying those words is really important to me.
Do you know why?
Be something about, like, permanence, because, you know, you read something and you're really affected by it, and then I know, like, how quickly I'm gonna move on to the next thing.
Right.
But if I spend the time to, like, write it down, then I know it's gonna stay with me longer, and then I can always go back to it too. It's not gonna just be lost in some book, and then I'm like, years later, I'm like, oh, but that thing about, you know, when we were in that moment, and da-da-da, and, like, I need to hear that right now. So then I can, like, flip back and see. Well, I started to try to play very early in front of people, and I would just shake. I, like, could barely get through it. Suddenly I wouldn't know how to play the guitar. It was awful. And, like, that had never happened to me in acting or dance. I've been on stage, like, I was like, what the fuck is going on? But so I just kept, like, forcing myself to go to, like, the Sidewalk Cafe open mic whenever I had time. And then there was just, like, one night where, I mean, it had been probably 6 or 7 months, and then I was okay. Mm-hmm. And then after that, it was much easier. But it was a struggle.
Sure.
Well, last summer I played this, well, it was around here, actually. I played this rooftop show in Bushwick. These guys, Go Folk Yourself, had just started they're putting on shows, and I was gonna just write for them. And I showed up, and the first person had canceled, and I was like, well, I'll play. So I did, and there was a recording engineer, sound guy there. He heard me, and he approached me afterwards saying, I'd really like to work on, like, can we set up a meeting? I'd really like to work with you. And so we did, and he really got, like, the simple little thing that I was trying to do, and wanted to capture my songs, like, as they were. Mm-hmm. So we recorded like 6 songs in November and December of last year, and I put it out in January. I think it's been pretty good. I mean, I have a website and stuff. I mean, always you're trying to reach as many people as possible, but it's been cool. All the people, especially from back home in North Carolina, that have come out of the woodwork and say that they listen to my music and that I, like, barely knew growing up and stuff. And that's really cool. I don't know. I mean, I feel like musicians a lot of the time, like, don't want to take enjoyment in like getting good feedback, but it's like, yeah, like some of the coolest moments, like when somebody uses my lyrics in their like Facebook status, yeah, like that's exciting, you know, it's really cool, and it means that, and because of what it means, like it means that they've listened, first of all, they've listened to what you've said, and then that they've like identified it and taken it in, and it's become important in their own life.
Right.
And I think that that's like, if you write, that's what you want from people. You want them to like hear what you're saying and identify with it and use it. I went to Telluride Bluegrass Festival last summer, and they have a program, or it's connected with them. It's a thing called Song School, and you go to Colorado and you camp, and there's like, you know, 150, maybe 150 people, and a lot of great teachers from Berkeley and working songwriters and stuff, and you just go for like 4 days and you take class from like, I got up at like 7 a.m. to do yoga every morning, and then you take class until 6, and then there's performances at night, and you kind of design your own course. And there's this idea of like a music mission, and it's something that your music already does to people. I'm not quite sure what mine is yet, but even the idea of like having a mission that connects you to your audience, because hopefully they do need what you're doing, it sort of just, I think, puts you in the right mindset, because it's really easy to get caught up in like, oh, you know, like, do they like it, or are they gonna like me, or is my material like way too heavy? Am I just gonna depress them? There's not a lot of people here, and you just like, and that's like death for any performance, because you're worried about the wrong thing. And it's like, if you're there and you have a job to do, and you say, this is what I'm here to do, how they respond isn't my business. I can only control how I do things, which, like, God, I mean, that applies everywhere.
Yeah.
You know, you can't change other people, you can change your attitude about it. That's an idea that I'm working with, to try to keep my head in the right place and do what's important.